I never imagined I'd spend the night before my bridal shower staring at a photo of my fiancé on a beach with his ex. It wasn't even hidden. No password. No secrecy. Just sitting there, open on his iPad, as if it meant nothing. She was laughing in the picture. Her head tilted back, eyes closed, hand on his chest like it had never left. And him? He was smiling like that was where he was meant to be. My fingers went numb. The room started spinning. I sat down on the edge of our shared bed, the one we'd picked together after a year of living in separate apartments, the one I'd imagined our children climbing into on lazy Sunday mornings. I remember hearing a faint buzzing in my ears. Maybe it was the ceiling fan. Maybe it was the sound of my heart breaking. The date on the photo said 2 days ago.
2 days
ago. I was supposed to be finalizing guest lists, confirming the flower arrangements, picking between rose gold and ivory napkins. I wasn't supposed to be staring at my future husband and his past like they never ended. And here's the thing, I trusted him. Not blindly, not naively. I trusted him because he gave me reasons to. Because every time I brought up his ex, he said she was ancient history. He used words like closure and healing and respectful boundaries. He even deleted old photos of her from his socials the day after he proposed. He said she was nothing but a ghost. But ghosts don't wear bikinis and stand laughing in front of waterfalls in real time. I kept staring at the screen, hoping the image would change, pixelate, vanish. Maybe I'd hallucinated it. Maybe my brain had glitched.
But no.
It was there.
Real.
Undeniable.
Raw.
I picked up the iPad with shaking hands, checked the other tabs. Another photo. Different angle. Then a video. She was calling him by his nickname. The one only I used. He was laughing. There were 3 wine glasses in the video. 3. Who was the third person? My stomach dropped. That morning, he told me he was on a quick business trip with his boss. He mentioned the hotel name in passing, even sent me a photo of his room. Alone. Empty bed. The usual. But something about that felt off now. I opened the gallery. My hands hovered over the screen like I was defusing a bomb. There were over 40 photos.
40.
Beach shots. Dinner selfies. Even one where he was tying her anklet. That anklet. She wore it when they dated. A tiny silver feather. He once said it reminded him of how light she made him feel. Was she making him feel light again? My mouth went dry. My engagement ring suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I tugged it off slowly, as if removing it would lessen the pressure in my chest. Then came the real punch. A screenshot of a hotel reservation. 2 guests. 1 room. 3 nights. I didn't cry. Not at first. Instead, I went quiet. The kind of quiet that screams inside your head, pulling at the edges of your sanity. I walked into the bathroom, closed the door, and stared at myself in the mirror. My reflection looked normal. Too normal. But inside, a war was brewing. Had I missed signs? Was this my fault for trusting too much? Did he ever love me? Or was I just a placeholder until she came back? I remembered the first time we talked about her. He said, she was a mess. I helped her too much. I lost myself. He told me I was different. That with me, he felt calm. Whole. Safe. Was that just a lie? Suddenly, a memory surfaced. 2 weeks ago, I'd asked him if he'd reached out to anyone from his past before the wedding. Just to clear the air, I'd said. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, no need. That chapter's closed. Liar. I sat back on the cold bathroom floor, the iPad screen still lit up beside me, mocking me. I could still hear the sound of her voice from the video. Sweet, soft, familiar. Too familiar. My phone buzzed. It was him. On my way back. Missed you like crazy. Can't wait to hold you. I stared at the message. For a split second, a twisted part of me wanted to pretend I hadn't seen anything. To slide the iPad under the bed and meet him at the door with a hug. To play dumb. But then another part of me, louder, angrier, screamed,
no.
You deserve the truth. And you deserve better. I stood up, wiped my face, put the ring back on, not because I wanted to keep it, but because I wanted him to see what he threw away. By the time he walked in, smiling like nothing was wrong, I was sitting on the couch, the iPad on the table, the photos displayed in a neat little album I'd titled, "Your Last Trip as My Fiancé." He froze. His smile faltered. His eyes flicked from the screen to me, back to the screen. And then he whispered, "Let me explain." I raised a hand. "Don't. Not yet." And that's where everything began to unravel. He stood there like a schoolboy caught cheating on a test, stuttering with words that couldn't fix what I saw with my own eyes. "Let me explain." His voice cracked as he reached for the iPad, but I slid it away.
No. Sit. I didn't yell. I didn't cry.
I spoke in the calmest voice I'd ever used. That made it worse. You could see the panic bloom in his eyes. He slowly sank into the chair across from me, his hands gripping the edge like it was the only thing keeping him upright. "I didn't plan it like that," he began. "Oh, we were starting with that line? Classic. So, you accidentally booked a room with your ex? Accidentally took photos? Accidentally wrapped your arm around her like she was your wife?" He looked down. "No," he whispered. "It wasn't accidental. But it wasn't what it looked like either." I blinked. "So, what was it then?" He looked up at me, guilt written across his face like a confession. "She reached out. Said she needed closure. Said she'd been in therapy, trying to fix herself, and that she couldn't move on until we talked face to face. I didn't want to lie to you, but I knew how it would sound." He paused. I didn't move. He continued, digging a deeper grave with each word. "She said she just wanted to talk. Just one conversation. But when I saw her, it was like memories came flooding back. We'd been through so much. I didn't know what to feel." My stomach turned. "But you did know what to do?" I snapped. "You chose to go on a trip. You chose not to tell me. You chose not to say no." I was confused. "No." I cut in. "You were selfish." He flinched. "You didn't just cheat physically," I said, voice tightening. "You emotionally cheated, lied, and risked our future because you got nostalgic. Was I just a convenience? A plan B until your heart made up its mind?" He buried his face in his hands. "It was a mistake. I regret it. I ended it before coming back. I told her I was with you, and that it was final. I swear to God, it didn't go beyond talking." I let out a bitter laugh. "Funny. People don't book romantic resorts and pose for photos just to talk." "I didn't sleep with her," he said quickly. "That's not the point." I cried. "You gave her emotional space that belonged to me. You gave her time, intention, attention, all the things we built over years." His lips parted, but I continued. "You knew this would hurt me. You did it anyway. You knew you were betraying me, and you booked that ticket anyway. You chose her." The room was so quiet, you could hear the clock ticking. He looked broken, but I didn't feel sorry for him. I felt sorry for me, for loving a version of him that no longer existed. "Do you love her?" I asked. He shook his head. "No." "I love you. I swear I love you." "Then why risk it all?" I whispered. "Why now, just weeks before our wedding?" "I don't know," he admitted. I panicked. I thought if I didn't go, I'd regret it. But now, I realize I lost something I'll never get back. That sentence echoed in my head. He lost something he'll never get back. Me. "You know what's crazy?" I said softly. "I was planning to surprise you. I had this whole thing set up for the wedding night. Custom vows, a song written just for us, even a special message from your mom. I was all in. Heart, soul, everything." He looked like he'd been punched. "I had no doubts about you," I added. "None. Until now." His voice was barely a whisper. "Can we fix this?" I stared at him. The man I loved. The man I thought was my forever. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe him. But something in me had cracked. And that crack wasn't going to seal with apologies. "Tell me this," I said. "If I hadn't found those photos, would you have told me?" He didn't answer. His silence was louder than any lie. "Exactly," I nodded. "You weren't sorry because you hurt me. You're sorry because you got caught. He stood up suddenly, pacing.
No.
That's not fair. I was going to tell you, after the wedding. I didn't want to ruin things. You already did. I stood too, feeling my legs tremble beneath me. You may not have kissed her, but you held her like I didn't exist. You smiled like you were free. And that tells me everything. He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Don't, I whispered. Please. The space between us felt like an ocean, one I wasn't ready to swim across again. I'm calling off the wedding, I said firmly. His eyes widened.
No.
Please. Don't do this. We can fix it, therapy, anything. I'll prove it to you. But the moment was already gone. Like the man I thought I knew. I deserve someone who doesn't need to figure out if he wants me, I said. I deserve certainty. He looked like he wanted to scream, cry, punch something. But all he did was collapse back into the chair, defeated. I took off the ring and placed it on the table, right beside the iPad. I hope you find the closure you're looking for, I said. But it won't be with me. And with that, I walked away. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. I just walked into the unknown, yes, but also into a future where I'd never have to question if I was second choice. The days that followed felt like walking through fog, thick, cold, and strangely quiet. The world kept moving, but I stood still. The wedding planner called. My mother cried. Guests who had RSVP'd began asking questions I didn't have the heart to answer. But the one person I hadn't heard from? Him. No texts. No calls. Not even a message from a friend. It was like he vanished. And somehow, that silence said more than any apology could. I deleted our shared calendar, canceled our honeymoon trip, folded the wedding dress back into its box, as if packing away a dream I once dared to believe in. At night, I would lie awake, wondering, was I too harsh? Did I overreact? What if he really was just confused? But then I'd remember the photos. The way his eyes crinkled with joy beside her. The way his hand rested on her lower back, familiar and warm. That look wasn't confusion. It was comfort. And I wasn't part of it. That's when the shift began. The pain didn't lessen, but my strength grew.
Day by day.
Hour by hour. I picked up new routines. Went on long walks. Reconnected with friends I'd unintentionally neglected during my bride-to-be phase. I returned to painting, pouring my emotions into every canvas. Anger, grief, healing all came out in colors. One morning, I opened my phone to a message from an unknown number. I messed up. Please just hear me out. One last time. I stared at it for a long while. Not because I didn't know how to respond, but because I finally realized I didn't need to. Closure wasn't a conversation. It wasn't a meeting. It wasn't letting him explain himself into forgiveness. Closure was a decision. And I had made mine. Still, the universe has a funny way of testing your resolve. Later that week, I ran into his best friend at the grocery store. The one who used to joke about how we were the couple that gave him hope. He looked awkward, hesitant. I probably shouldn't say this, he started, but he's been a mess. He doesn't go out. He hasn't eaten much. Says he doesn't know who he is without you. I paused, the apple in my hand suddenly feeling heavy. He's hurting, his friend added. He knows he lost you for good. And for a moment, I felt a tiny flicker of sympathy. Not for what he did, but for how lost he must feel. But then again, hadn't I felt the same? I spent weeks unraveling myself from a future I didn't even get to live. I mourned a marriage that never happened. I grieved the version of him I thought I knew. He wasn't the only one hurting. I smiled politely. I hope he finds his healing. Just not through me. The friend nodded, as if understanding that those words came from someone who had finally found peace. That night, I did something brave. I wrote myself a letter. Not to him. Not to the past. But to the version of me that had been so blindly in love, she missed the warning signs. I know you thought he was the one. I know you believed in him with your whole heart. But love is not about grand gestures. It's about the quiet choices made in everyday moments. And he chose her. That doesn't make you unworthy. That doesn't make you unlovable. It just means he wasn't capable of the kind of love you were ready to give. You deserved transparency. You deserved loyalty. You deserved to be chosen every single day. And someday, someone will do exactly that. Until then, keep healing. Keep growing. Keep becoming the version of you that you were always meant to be.
Love me.
I folded the letter and placed it in a small box labeled, "Truths I'll Never Forget." And for the first time in a long while, I slept without dreaming about him. The next morning, I woke up to the sun streaming through the curtains, and I didn't feel heavy anymore. I didn't feel betrayed or angry. I just felt light. That was my turning point. I wasn't waiting for a man to come apologize. I wasn't waiting for karma to do its work. I wasn't even waiting for love to find me again. I had already found something more powerful, myself. And in a world that constantly tells women to forgive too quickly, to hold on too long, to fix what they didn't break, choosing yourself is the most radical, beautiful thing you can do. So, to anyone reading this, wondering if they should walk away from someone who just made a mistake, ask yourself, does this person honor your heart? Do they tell the truth, even when it's inconvenient? Do they choose you even when no one is watching? Because you don't need perfect love. You need honest love, consistent love, safe love, and above all, you need a love that doesn't make you question your worth. I'm not sure what's next for me, but I know this. I won't shrink myself to be someone's almost. I won't compromise trust for temporary companionship. And I sure as hell won't let betrayal wear the mask of a mistake. I may not have walked down the aisle, but I walked away with my dignity intact. And that's a love story worth telling. When betrayal tries to define you, you have two choices. Let it break you, or let it build you. I chose the latter. At first, empowerment didn't look like confidence. It looked like small victories. Getting out of bed on the days I didn't want to. Smiling at strangers even when I felt hollow inside. Making my favorite breakfast just for me. These weren't just actions. They were revolutions in disguise. Because when you've been through heartbreak, even the act of caring for yourself becomes rebellious. I started journaling every morning. No filters. Just raw, messy truth. My pain, my hopes, my regrets, my rebirth. And somewhere between the pages, I realized he had been a chapter.
But
I was the whole book. I joined a women's circle in the city, a safe space where women gathered weekly to share their stories. Some had been cheated on. Some had walked away from years of emotional neglect. Some had simply woken up one day and said, I want more. And as I listened to their voices trembling with truth, I felt less alone. One woman said something that still lingers in my soul. You can't heal in the same place that hurt you. Those words hit like lightning. I had been waiting for the pain to fade while still mentally clinging to memories. To his laughter, his smell, the dreams we dreamed together. But how could I heal if I kept returning to the emotional scene of the crime? So I started a process I called sacred detachment. I unfollowed him on every platform, deleted our photos from my phone, not out of hatred, but out of healing. I even moved apartments. New space, new energy, new me. And let me tell you, letting go isn't easy. Sometimes I'd cry just passing by the coffee shop where he once said, I can't wait to spend forever with you. But grief is just love with nowhere to go. So I redirected that love to myself, to my future, to the version of me that was rising like a phoenix through the ashes of disappointment. I took solo trips. Small ones at first, a weekend by the beach, then a cabin in the woods. Each time, I returned with a deeper understanding of who I was without him. Turns out, I'm quite magical on my own. I speak kindly to myself now. When the inner critic whispers, you weren't enough, I answer, no, I was too much for someone who was never ready. I dress up for no one but me. I dance in the kitchen like it's my private stage. I wear bold lipstick on gloomy days, not to impress, but to declare, I still shine. And somewhere in the middle of all that self-love and healing, Someone new entered my life. He didn't come with fireworks or grand entrances. He didn't promise me forever in the first week. He just showed up consistently. He listened. He laughed with me, not at me. And when I told him about my past, he didn't flinch. I don't need to be better than him, he said. I just need to love you right. That's when I realized love doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be true. Still, I was cautious. Once you've been burned, even the gentlest warmth can make you flinch. But he waited. He never rushed me to trust. Never demanded access to wounds I wasn't ready to reveal. He simply stood beside me, patient, present, peaceful. And in that safety, I bloomed, not into someone new, but into the version of me I was always meant to be. I'm not the woman who stayed broken. I'm the woman who rebuilt herself with golden light in every crack. The kind of woman who doesn't chase love. She attracts it naturally, effortlessly, because she knows her worth. She knows her power. She knows her story isn't a tragedy, it's a triumph. If you're in that dark valley now, I want you to know, you are not the betrayal. You are not the silence they left you in. You are the morning after. The strength between tears. The fierce, beautiful storm that came back even stronger. They may have tried to write your ending, but the pen is in your hand now. So write boldly, love bravely, live freely, because the best revenge isn't anger, it's happiness. And baby, you deserve a love story that doesn't make you question the ending. It's been a year, 12 full moons, 4 seasons, countless moments where I've stood at the edge of memory and chose not to fall. Do you want to know something strange? I ran into him last month. It wasn't dramatic. No music swelling in the background. Just a regular Tuesday at a local bookstore. I was in the self-help aisle. He was walking out of the travel section. How ironic. Our eyes locked for a second. I thought I'd feel something sharp. A sting of pain. A rush of regret. But I didn't. There was stillness. Peace. He approached me slowly. Not with the arrogance he once wore, but something softer. Worn down. He looked older. Not in years, but in weight. Like someone who had finally realized what they had and lost. Hey, he said, barely above a whisper. I smiled. Hey. For a few moments, we just stood there. Two people who once imagined a lifetime together, now strangers with a shared past. He asked if we could talk. I agreed. We sat outside, 2 coffees between us, the air heavy with unspoken words. I messed up, he began. I didn't understand what I had. I thought I was being honest with you by telling you about the trip. But the truth is, I knew it would hurt you. I just didn't care enough in that moment. And that's what eats me alive now. His voice trembled. I wanted closure, he said. But closure isn't something you get from others. It's something you give to yourself. So I gave it to me. I forgive you, I told him. Not because he earned it, but because I earned my peace. He nodded, a small tear slipping down his cheek. I hope you're happy, he whispered. And I meant it when I said, I am. Because here's the final twist. You don't always get an apology wrapped in a confession. You don't always get justice in the form you expect. Sometimes the universe just rearranges everything, and your healing becomes your power. Your silence becomes your closure. Your joy becomes the loudest truth. I walked away from that meeting lighter than I'd felt in months. And just as I turned the corner, a tiny feather floated down in front of me. White. Soft. Perfect. I laughed. Because all throughout my healing, I kept asking the angels for a sign that I was on the right path. And they always sent feathers. Not every day. Not every request. But when it mattered most. That day, after forgiving the man who once shattered me, they sent the biggest sign yet. I was not broken. I was blessed. Blessed to have known heartbreak, so I could understand real love when it arrived. Blessed to have been abandoned, so I could choose myself fiercely, without apology. Blessed to have been disappointed, so I could learn not to shrink in rooms where I deserve to rise. You see, healing isn't loud. It's quiet, subtle, divine. It happens in the way you breathe easier at night. In the way you no longer look for their name when your phone buzzes. In the way you smile at your own reflection, genuinely, finally.
And now,
I'm in love, not just with someone new, but with my life. I wake up and thank the heavens, not for the past, but for the detour. Because had he not taken that trip, had he not chosen someone else over our vows, I would have never found me. The woman who walks with grace and a spine made of fire. The woman who no longer waits for someone to pick her. The woman who knows her worth like gospel. So if you're reading this, brokenhearted, and unsure if you'll ever feel whole again,
this is your sign.
The heartbreak didn't ruin you.
It reconstructed you.
Your story isn't over. It's just getting extraordinary. And the next time someone walks into your life, you won't be hoping they stay. You'll be checking to see if they deserve to be there. Because now, you've met the love of your life.
You.